Well, hello there and welcome to the Big Q. Today I have the pleasure of speaking to the CEO of Wasac, Mr. James Sano. Thank you very much, sir, for making time to be with us, and welcome to the program.
My pleasure to be here.
So, of course, Wasac, when it comes to water and sanitation, people have a lot of questions, and I'll just go straight to some of the questions that we got from our audience. Agaba on Twitter asked, what causes instability of water supply in the country?
The instability is not countrywide. It is some areas in the country where we have not implemented projects yet to ensure that people get water. But where we have implemented projects, and we are doing a good job to provide service, which is the majority of the areas in the country. There is no very big problem. That's why we work day and night to ensure that we implement projects, especially in rural areas where we have a lot of people, to ensure that every Rwandese gets water. So it's a continuous process. What I can tell you that at Wasac, we have a business plan which is in line with a national strategic plan, 7-year strategic plan, whereby we want to every Rwandese to have access to water by 2020, starting in 2018, of course. And as you know, the global targets have changed last year. They changed last year. Now we are also rearranging ourselves to ensure that we go with the new targets, which are actually more stringent than the ones we have today, because the targets now is to have access at household. So some of the projects will be rearranged. Some of the existing infrastructure will be extended to ensure that water reaches people at their households.
So before we go into most of the plans that you have for the country, Walter on Facebook is asking, is the water that comes out of our tap drinkable? How standardized is our water? Because most of the times we open our taps and the water is dirty.
Most of the time I'm not sure, because we all live in this city and in different parts of the country. It only happens when there is a leak somewhere, and it will not take more than 5 minutes. The water will clear. On the quality of water that we supply, I can say without any doubt that the quality of water is good to drink.
It is up to standard.
It is up to standard. It's up to national standards and WHO standards, especially at the treatment plant. Now, when we transport water into our network, that's where you start having problems, especially areas where water is intermittent, is not supplied 24 hours, 7 days a week. Because when you don't supply, when the pipelines are not transporting water 24 hours, 7 days a week, you will have problems, because water is a product. It's a chemical product, safe chemical product. But if kept in a pipeline which is stagnant, and the water becomes stagnant, then the quality of water cannot be assured. For areas where they have water frequently, they can drink our water. It is safe. But for areas where they get water on rationing, or there are a lot of water cuts in those areas, then we're not advised. So the solution is having enough water, first of all, to supply into the network. Once we are at that level, we can supply water in all parts of the country without stopping, then we'll be having enough water. I mean, clean water that is drinkable anytime that on the tap. So the quality is as good as the one that is that you will want for human consumption. But the problem is challenges of the gaps that you have in terms of demand and supply. That's in most cases cause the water cuts.
Then another question comes in when they ask, when will the digitization of Kigali water supply network be completed?
We have actually started. We have started, we are now implementing a very big project in Kigali, which is meant to increase production. We are currently producing 90,000 cubic meters for the city of about 1.1 million people, which at the moment we have a gap of over around 30,000 cubic meters per day. So we have a project which is going to give us 145,000 cubic meters by July, beginning of August. We'll be having this water. The project will be completed, and through this project, beside increasing production for the city, we are also installing a SCADA system. So we have built a very state-of-the-art building with a laboratory and a SCADA system, which is going to be installed with a system that is going to be monitoring major reservoirs in the network. But it's a long process because our network, as we all know, was meant for 300,000 people, and today we are more than 1 million people. So what you're trying to do is also, beside the project, to increase production, which in the end will give us 175, because that's the total installed capacity, 175,000 cubic meters, which will take us up to 2022. The next step is to implement a network project, which we have also started. We have started procurement. The procurement is almost done. We will immediately implement it because we need to draw water from the main reservoir we are going to construct at Mount Kigali, Kigali Mountain, which is going to be 5,000 cubic meters, say, one of the biggest that we have. And from there, we're going to extend the network to areas which are now more affected in Kigali, like Kichukiro, Kagarama, and areas like Busanza and Samuduha and Kanombe. So this is the next step that you're going to go.
And when you talk of monitoring, one is asking, the Wasac should be conducting regular sampling of tap water and publish these results to the public. Are we getting to that point? Do you do this?
No, we are already there. We cannot run.
Where can we find these publications?
We cannot run a water utility without doing sampling in the street. We actually have spots where we take samples. So if he is interested, the one who asked this question, he'd be one of the points, because we have so many points across the city and everywhere in the country where supply water. We have points in the households where you go and take sample. It's not only us who does that. The National Bureau of Standards does that because they regulate the quality of service we provide. RURA also takes samples, and the report that we publish are submitted to RURA. So I don't understand what this person who asked questions.
Probably they want to see this on your website. Like when you go to your website, we need to see this is what, the standardized process that we undergo.
We have standards on our website that we have to comply, but we don't publish these results. So we can take that, we can take note of that and see how feasible it is. But I think it's a good idea.
Kimirongo area goes for water shortages for about 3 to 4 days without water. In Samuduha, we've spent almost 2 months without water. Why is this happening?
Kimirongo and Samuduha are one of the very few spots in Kigali where we cannot supply water 24 hours, 7 days a week. We ration in those areas because if you talk of Samuduha, for example, Samuduha is a new street where it's a new area where we invested in a network without proper planning because we were overwhelmed by number of houses that now people move to the area. And the other challenge we have with Samuduha is that it is the far end of from the source where the water supply goes. So for them to get water, for sure it's still a challenge. And the solution is going to be the project that I just mentioned that you're implementing, which is going to increase water production and also extend the network and of course revamp the network in Samuduha and other areas that are now challenged with water.
So what is the extent of water loss at the moment, largely due to faulty systems and theft?
It's a challenge for sure because first of all we have customers, we have generally very good customers. Rwandese are very good customers. they pay on time, but we have few who tamper with our infrastructure, and we are lucky that you have a legal framework in place that helps us to deal with that, and for sure it's not a big challenge with us, because people who tamper with the infrastructure are few.
So it's not a huge loss to the company?
No, it's not a huge loss. The loss that we have is the normal one for a water utility, which is a non-revenue water, which for sure we have improved over the past 2 years, because we have reduced non-revenue water from 42%. We are now at 35%, and going down, because we have put in place programs that, including a non-revenue water strategy, that is meant to address water shortage. We are communicating more with our customers. We have a Twitter account, we have a Facebook account, we have a free toll number where people can communicate to us, to the extent that whenever there's a leakage, we know there's the leakage, and we've also put in place a mechanism to have rapid interventions on these calls. So that's one of the reasons that our non-revenue water is going down. Maybe let me say one thing. When you say non-revenue water of 35%, people out there will say, hey, this is a lot of water.
Yes, it is.
But there is no system which is watertight. And this is a general term that is everywhere in different sectors.
Okay.
So there is no system which is watertight. So there are standards, what I would say. There are standards and benchmark that we have. And as we stand today, Wasac has the lowest non-revenue water in the region. So I'm not saying that we are doing very well. There's still a lot of work to do, because according to our business plan, we're supposed to reduce our non-revenue water to 25%, which is acceptable in sub-Saharan Africa. But even that is not enough. We need to go down, because there are countries like Japan, like Singapore, which are between 7 and 10 non-revenue water, 7 and 10% of non-revenue water.
But how long do you think it would take us then to get there?
We have given ourselves five years. We are now 2 years.
Into it?
Yes, we are 2 years in implementing our business plan. The only challenge you have now is the old network, which cannot accommodate the water that we produce, because now we're producing more water than the network we have. That's why, after implementing this project, which is going to be the network project, which is going to be completed in 3 years, will be beyond 25%.
So now you're saying we have more water, but you don't have the right network to handle it.
Exactly.
What is the connection between REG and Wasac? When we have power shortages, we also don't have water? What is the connection between electricity and your company? This
is obvious, because our network, especially in Kigali and all parts of the country, because of the nature of topography of our country, which is hilly, every drop that reaches a household or a place is pumped. So we use pumps, and these pumps use a lot of energy. We're actually one of the biggest consumer of energy in the country. So when there is no electricity, the plants will not work. And the pumps will stop. There are people who ask us to ask why we don't buy big generators, yes, to cater for power when there is no electricity. Yes, it's a very good idea, but which is an idea which is very expensive. It is not cost effective, because as we all know, when you're working on a small scale, you're generating power on a small scale, the costs are very high. They are very high. And if internalized into the water tariff, it won't be affordable. Very few people will afford it. So it is more cost effective to stop a plant or a pumping station for 2 hours than installing 1 or 2 megawatts generator into one treatment plant. I'll just give you an example. We consume almost $500,000 of a dollar of electricity in terms of cash.
Yeah.
So if we add generators, it is going to more than triple,
Yes.
and the tariff will as well triple. So it won't be affordable. That's why we leave the electricity business with REG and we do the water business.
Well, we do take a short break, but when we come back, we still talk water issues. Do keep it BQ. Welcome back, and of course I've been talking to the CEO of Water and Sanitation Corporation, and he says water is indeed an issue, but they are solving the problems that the city and the country could be facing at large. Now, before we went to a break, we still had questions that are coming in, and someone asked on Twitter, water has been promised that it should be enough by June. Is this plan still on? We're just a month away.
Exactly, yes. This is what you're doing every day. To increase production, especially in Kigali. I'm sure the one who is asking is from Kigali. But we're not only implementing projects. Actually, we spend more money in terms of investment on rural water projects than urban projects. So for Kigali, we actually promised that you're going to have enough water in July this year. And we are almost 70% in terms of implementing the project itself. Which is going to be completed in July. There is one thing. There is covering the water demand that you need to produce to satisfy the demand in the city. But there's another challenge that you face immediately after you get that, which is the network. As I said, water network in Kigali has been extended slowly, not on the pace that we all want. To be honest, we've made very little investment into our network. So now we have a big project which we are about to implement to cater for the supply to all parts of the area. And our priority now is to extend the network and revamp the network in areas where people don't get water. Because as we speak today, the people who live, for example, in Nyamirambo, or people who live in Gisozi, people who live in Nyarutarama, they'll tell you we never faced water shortage.
Nyamirambo actually have a problem after. I'll take you to that question shortly, because someone from Nyamirambo was saying we don't have water, and when we have the water at times, we buy jerrycans of water, which is expensive. Do you even fluctuate the prices that go from 500 francs to 100 francs? What should be the official price when we don't have water?
So you're talking about people who live in informal settlement,
yes.
I'm sure. Because, yes, of course, the city, we have a big part of the city with people like anywhere else in Africa. A big part of the city where people live in informal settlement, which you find it very difficult to connect them at households. So this type of areas, they will always get water through standpipe, public water pipe. So these are all different business than the one we do at Wasac, because we have what you call water vendors, people who sell water. So the cost of water will
go up.
Will go up because we provide this public water on a social tariff, which is the lowest tariff that we have, which is 384, including taxes,
francs
per cubic meter.
Okay.
So this is very cheap water. But when it reaches there in informal settlement, that's where water vendors start making business. The good news is that RURA is now regulating water vendors. Of course, it is a process. It will not happen in one day. It started this year, beginning of this year. They introduced the system to regulate water vendors this year. For areas like Nyamirambo, where there are some informal settlements, it will take a few years before it is fully regulated. But for our customers, the customer who have household connection, we have a standard tariff that we administer, and we have no any problem whatsoever, including access to water in Nyamirambo. Because Nyamirambo, if you asked me 2 years ago, I would say we have challenges. But today we don't have challenges in Nyamirambo.
It has improved.
It has improved. They get water every day, and we don't have any complaint these days from Nyamirambo.
The other issue now is about customer care. Customer care has been an issue not only, of course, in your company, but you know, service delivery has been an issue in the whole country. But now someone says customer care people from Wasac are rude. And then, you know, of course, we've seen the Twitter handles that someone misused some time back and wrote their own things and then remembered this is, you know, is an official. What do you do to, you know, counter these measures to ensure that you're providing good services, but at the same time your customer care is polite to the customers?
I will say, okay, we still have a long way to go, for sure. But there's been a lot of improvement, especially in Wasac. After separating Wasa into Reg and Wasac, we did put in place programs. We called Performance Improvement Program, which was meant to instill professionalism within our staff. Through this, we established a customer charter, which we follow. We enforced our communication systems to get closer to our customers. Today, I'm sure people will tell you it took almost a month to get a water connection if you wanted, if you wanted it. Today, it is something that will take you maximum 2 days to get a household connection, maximum 2 days. And in most cases, it is 1 day. So there've been a lot of improvement, but there are individuals who are not, for sure, should not be representing Wasac, but unfortunately, we have them. And what I can say, when you find that somebody is consistently not providing a good service, we take administrative measures. And this is making people, of course, you are not that harsh, but we try to educate them to make sure that they understand their responsibility, which is to take very good care of our customers, because we have to be very close to our customers.
How far are you with the plans for the sewerage plant for the city?
Oh, that's a very good one. We have been talking about studies, that we're preparing studies. Of course, studies for the centralized sewerage system for the city, because the study that we have been conducting is meant to construct a sewerage system in the city center. We have now completed the studies. Engineering design are completed. The social, environmental and social impact assessment is completed and submitted to RDB, and we expect to get the certificate not more than a week time from today. We have completed also economic feasibility study for the network, because you also have to know the economics of the system. So what is remaining now is to mobilize resources. We are working with the responsible institutions, which helps us to raise the funding for the project. Once we get the funding, we'll start the procurement, because procurement documents are also ready. We have them in place. So what is remaining is to mobilize resources so that we implement.
But the question is when? We've had this for far too long.
Yes, when will depend on when we're going to get the resources. But what I know is that we want to start it as soon as possible. When we start it, it will implement it within 2 years.
Take us through the Water Leaders Award that you won. Most people were surprised that you won the Water Award Leaders against very big companies.
I think I received it against a lot of challenges. That's what I would say. Against a lot of challenges which I've tried to address for the past 2 years. Yeah, it was a Global Water Leaders Award, which was a result of a voting process by CEOs of all the world. And I also don't know how it happened, but at the end of the day, I think what was looked at was how we implemented reforms within Wasac, and how we improved our services. So we may say our services are not good. Of course, they are not good yet. There's still a long way to go. But when people look at where we have come from and they understand what you're doing, it just happened that they gave us. But for me, that award means that we are in the right direction. We are going in the right direction. What you need to do is just to keep up the pace and work more harder to ensure that we provide with this. And at the end of the day, the objective is to make people happy.
What are the immediate plans for water and sanitation for Kigali and the environs?
Sorry, I didn't.
What are the immediate plans that you have and projects for Kigali and its environs to increase water, to see that we have enough supply of water now that we even have Nzove water plant coming into
priority now for Kigali is to revamp the network. We have been working with our partners, the Ministry of Infrastructure and the Ministry of Finance, to mobilize resources to be able to implement a big project which will revamp the Kigali water network. So if you ask me, the most burning issue or the most important thing that we have to endeavor is to work on our network. And once we have it, we'll solve a lot of problems, including reducing non-revenue water, which we've been talking. Another priority is to digitize the network, to make it more smarter, so that we don't depend very much on information you get from people. Instead, we get information from the system itself. So that we solve the problems, especially of leakages and other problems that we get on the network. Once you implement those, we have done a very good job. Another area which we have not worked on in the past very well is the area of sanitation. We are working with the City of Kigali to implement a landfill project. We already have studies. Now, what you're trying to do is to mobilize resources to implement the project. It is going to be a modern landfill, which will help us to complete the solid waste management cycle. Because at the moment, we have a very good system in terms of collecting solid waste in the household and transporting it. But when it comes to the landfill itself, which needs a lot of investment, you find we are still lagging behind. So this is another area where we need to make a very quick intervention to make sure that we implement a project. We are also going to implement a fecal slide treatment plant. We are already engaging KFW through Lake Victoria Basin Commission of East African Community. We have already mobilized resources, and what follows is the implementation of actual fecal slide treatment plant. Because as you will see, our city is not well developed to be able to have a well-functioning centralized sewage system. So at the end of the day, we continue to use septic tanks in areas, especially in our own streets. During this period, which is going to take not less than 15 years, to have the concentration of houses and population that will technically be viable for a centralized sewage system to be installed in those areas. So we need to implement immediately a system that is going to be treating fecal sludge from the septic tanks. And this is what we are trying to do. There are a lot of projects. I think your time will not be enough to tell you everything that we are working on, but we have a lot of plans to make sure that we address water and sanitation issues in the country.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for making time to be with us.
Thank you, Fiona.
I was speaking to the CEO for Wasac, Mr. James Sano, and of course he says there is improvements that are still being working on, and there is more to come for the company and for the country. Do keep it the Big Q.